In this video, we're going to talk about what it is that you do if your y-axis rails aren't making a proper connection to the y-axis rail mounts. So if we look at the way these assemblies are done, is there's a female keyway at each end on the underside of the y-axis rails, and that engages a male key that's machined on the top of each of the vertical risers of the front and rear y-axis rail mounts. Now, when you've got this assembled, you should see no daylight in that joint, meaning there should be intimate contact between these two parts when you bolt these together. What you need to do is if you check your assembly and you actually see daylight in that joint, it means that there's an issue and that issue's got to be resolved. And the purpose of this video is to go over what steps you have to take to get a good connection at these joints. Thankfully this assembly, it doesn't have that issue. But the steps that are used to correct it are the same if this one did have that issue. So first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and take this y-axis rail off, and we'll get it flipped over, and we'll show you what we're looking at here. All right, so now that I've got the y-axis rail off, we can take a closer look at these interfaces. It's worth mentioning that on every single MR-1 machine that we ship out the door, we check it with this special gauge that we made. Interestingly enough, we made this on MR-1 out of a piece of stainless. This is actually a go gauge that we use to check the width of the male keys on the rail mounts and then the keyways on the underside of the y-axis rails. We check that to make sure that as long as it goes, as shown there, it's machined properly, and similarly, if it fits there, that's good. Now, so we know that on every machine that we ship, those two things are going to be good. We check them all. Now, if you go and assemble yours and it doesn't fit together for some reason, it's usually one of two issues. One is that there isn't enough of a corner radius on the top of the male key. So if it's a sharp edge, it can actually interfere with the fillet radius in the corners of the slots that are on the underside of the y-axis rails. So there's a couple things that we could do to fix that. And then the second reason number two is, sometimes there could be byproduct from the coating process on these rails that kind of sits into these corners, and we're going to go and basically clear that out using a file to make sure that's not preventing proper mate up. So that being said, all you need to do to correct these issues is just a file, and I'm just going to come along here and just cut a slight chamfer on these edges to get rid of that sharp edge there. So I can go ahead and do that on both sides. It doesn't take a whole lot, just a little bit of an edge break usually will correct the issue. And then similarly, looking at the y-axis rail, I'm just going to set the file on edge, and I'm going to just go ahead and just run a few passes to just get rid of any gunk in that corner. I'll do that over here. And typically, just doing those two things, a couple swipes of the file is all that's needed to get a problem assembly to no longer have those issues. Now, another thing that if you're struggling with assembling this, what we found is it's really easy to get one y-axis rail on. Other times it takes a little bit of manipulation to get the other side on. So typically you'll find that one side goes on easy. The other one, you'll get one end into the slot easy enough, and then it's really that fourth one that takes a little bit of manipulation. Sometimes you're going to have to, flex the assembly just a little bit to get this, to get the key to drop into the keyway. Just takes a little bit of manipulation, and it should go in just fine. And then from there, you can just go ahead and progress onward with the rest of the assembly, shimming, and then from there, jumping onto the concrete pouring. If you have any questions about this process, if you're finding that you're struggling with issues and you've gone through these steps and you're still having an issue, go ahead and reach out to our technical support team. Thanks.